you know, money does it. I think it's something to think about, man. You know, before you jump, you say jobs. I'm not so sure that there's going to be a lot of jobs, and if there are jobs, I bet they won't be the high-paying type. Now, I want the thing to be fair too. I think we ought to bring it up, and I'm agreeing with you, Sam, on this. I think a lot of people don't understand what it's all about, what they're going to do, what might happen, and I think if this was brought out in the open and people did come and had a shot at it, hey.
Well, they need to be educated on all sides first and foremost.
It's an education, right? That's exactly right. But one thing I know about traveling through a town like Johnsonburg or Tyrone, it was awful. The odor was awful. And that would be one of the main objections that people in this town would be against.
Okay, well, thank you both.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on.
Is there any other?
I just want to know if you need our services anymore.
Well, do you want to talk about their contract? Or?
Well, we had met, you were there at the meeting with, I think you were there. We would like to sit down and talk to you about, you know, guardian services in regards to Sunnyside.
Right, right. And we at that time requested further information from Sunnyside, and I think Brian, what, a week ago? About a week ago. There was just the initial contact. We need some more time to discuss with them a little bit more detail of the project.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anytime, you know, as soon as we find out exactly what the plan is and the size of the building and scope of the project, we haven't received that information yet, but we're...
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Council, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just heard about this over the TV, and I really didn't know the meeting was going on.
Well, that's.
I hope I haven't upset the court.
Do you have a way to that I can get in touch with you?
236-2885.
I just want to say something.
Okay, Elizabeth Rich.
I just go. And I'm sorry to interrupt.
He's there, so
If you need anything, just call me.
Okay, sure. Well, okay.
Jeff wanted to talk about Sunnyside.
Did you sign it?
Yeah, again, this is maybe working with this project for SIP. I just heard about, they're talking about the ethanol plant tonight. I said, well, I'll go. I didn't know anything about it, so I'll come over, you know. And I've been working on this project for 7 years now. And a lot of these questions, if there's any questions at all, anything about any good or bad that people have asked, Sunnyside people have said, I want to know any questions. They've offered him to fly out to any of the ethanol plants, you know, everything. There's been town meetings, there's been meetings, there's just a meeting here in January. And if there's any questions, I think they would want to know to answer them. I mean, it's been all open this whole time. Again, it's been 7 years. And if they want to know. I mean, if there's any ifs or I mean, there's been meetings. I don't know if you've and who's asking them? What do they want to know? They're open. They'll answer them. So it's here we are in the 11th hour. It's going to be built, and and they've been working hard on this project, and don't slow it up.
There you go.
I gave Jan Shanafelt, when this first came up about 7 years ago, she called me and was very concerned. And I said, Jan, I don't know anything yet. When I found out, I called Jan and Denny, and I said, listen. And I gave her 11 websites. The one was Badger State, and the other ones were ethanol disasters. I gave her everything, the good, the bad, the chemical composition.
Did the same thing to me.
Yes. And this is the point. I said, now, if you're going to get involved in this debate, it will be advertised, public meetings. I don't know what else, shy of standing on the mountaintop with a microphone. Come to the meeting. We had a great turnout at the Civic Center. We had a good turnout at Moena. We had a great turnout at the high school. I don't know what else.
There's been
And any experts that wanted to come on the pro or con side were certainly welcome.
Yes, yes.
DEP presented their side, and I do, if I can't trust DEP, I work with them on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And if I can't trust their engineers, we might as well dissolve that department.
And this is and I believe was, I'm not sure, I can't give you a name, because they've been called to one of the mayors in the Midwest, and they said, we wish we had another one.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Gates. I'd like to address that. I mentioned that I've been calling the school board. That's a very valid point. We hear in the newspaper after I have the meetings from the school board meeting. I'm not asking you anything, sir. I'm not asking you anything. I did my own research.
Okay.
What happens is we have these public meetings, which are not. Please don't roll your eyes, Mr. Gates. I'm sorry. This is a very important point. Okay. How it goes down is there's a small notice in the newspaper that they're having a public meeting. Not everybody responds to that because not everybody reads the newspaper. Likewise,
for 7 years.
Not everybody. Hey, I know myself. I only moved here 3 years ago. This was all new to me. Likewise, we get constantly put in the newspaper and in the local press how it's good, how it's good, how it's good, how it's good. Not everybody looks at these things and says, "Oh boy, these are terrible, terrible things. I need to investigate."
Are you against the ethanol coming?
Let me make my point. My point is this. For instance, the school board had a public meeting about this because they expressed concerns. In the minutes of the school board meeting, it was announced that Charlotte Johnston had called a mayor of a town in the Midwest, and they said, yes, this is great, we want another one. That was what was reported in the local press. So in the public consciousness, the people say, well, this looks like a good thing. This is what I'm hearing as I'm talking to people. You want to know the facts of the matter? Are you interested?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
She was also invited. Was this person invited out to see one of them too?
No. My point being is what was presented en masse to the public afterwards, which was we called a mayor and they said we'd love another one. So the public consciousness says this is a good thing, right? Common sense. School board member says that she heard it was a good thing, good thing. Here's what I found out. I called Mr. Hatton and I called Mrs. Johnston and I asked them if they could recall the details of what was presented at that meeting. They said no. I said, well, is it do they have a cogeneration plant where they're going to be burning waste coal or is it clean burning natural gas? Neither her nor Mr. Hatton could answer that question. They didn't know. I said, where is the plant located in the town that you talked to? They said they couldn't recall. I said, actually, what was the name of the town? They couldn't recall. I said, issues in regards to smell, traffic, all this kind of stuff. Well, here's what I found out. I called that plant, and indeed what happens was they're comparing apples to oranges, and I talked with Mrs. Johnston, and she said she talked to the mayor, he said it was a good thing. Here's what we know. It's run by Ace Ethanol. It is located 1 mile from the business district, not as a stone throws, not even a quarter of a mile from the business district like we have here. It is a clean burning, natural gas burning plant, much like the Clearfield plant, which our plant is a dirty burning waste coal plant. Now, the numbers published from the DEP itself show that our pollution numbers allowable by the DEP will be almost 6 times that of the clean burning plant. And you brought this point up. My point is that we are comparing apples to oranges.
Okay. All right, and I'm not here to argue, and I'm just.
But I'm saying that illustrates my point, Mr. Gates, is that is what you use that as a point to say that the people are for it and that the people want it based on this opinion of a person that called the mayor. The fact of the matter is we're comparing apples to oranges. That place is in the plains. It is not in the mountains. It is not located in town. It is not burning dirty waste coal. It is not the same thing. So to be presented to the public that we've done research and that somehow or another this is a good thing based on that research, that's disingenuous.
Do you want your questions answered?
Absolutely.
Why have you been at any of these meetings before then?
I just explained that to you. This is all relatively new. Why? Why didn't 2,700 other people show up? Because I don't read the progress every day.
Some of the people.
I wasn't aware. You asked me to answer your question, I'm answering your question. I don't read the progress every day. I don't scan the public notices every day. I was not involved in government at the time. As many people don't. Why were there only 200 people when there are 6,000 people that live in this immediate area that showed up at the meetings? Is their opinion any less important, or is their health any less important?
Would you like them to answer that? Yeah.
I would love it, and I would love an open, honest
I'll
public
give you
debate.
some people to call, the CEO, the CFO, the engineers, whatever,
Right.
which these questions have already been answered before.
What I want to know is the,
They've been answered. Why is our pollution 6 times that of the Clearfield
but is
plant?
that 6 times permissible under DEP, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's right from their website.
Well, that's
So
my
why is
case.
it? What? Because the DEP says it's okay, it's okay.
Well, it's a
6
regulatory.
times. Are we 6 times less important?
Sam,
Is our health 6
Sam,
times less important than
Sam.
people in
I think
Clearfield?
we're kind of getting out of hand here.
I think we are too. I tried to stop this.
I want to thank you for, I mean, I just.
Here's what we're gonna do. You fellas, you and Mr.
Yeah,
Barnes, and that need
Yeah,
to see what you can, kind of answers you can get. and then back to you.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for coming.
These questions that he's asking are very easily answered, okay?
We don't want to get into a
Yeah,
public
it's-
argument here
no,
tonight.
And it's, and
over
I'm
this,
not
you
here.
know.
Yeah.
So-
My point is that this isn't getting out to the public at large. That's my point, and I don't think anybody can argue
We should
that.
go knock on every door.
I would, you know what, Fred? I'd be willing to do that. Would you? Would you, to give them both sides of the story? I will.
Probably they would.
I'll knock on every door in town if I
To
have
fly
to.
out to one of those, or things like that too.
If they can show me a plant that's exactly the same as what they're going to build here with the same...
State of the art.
Well, we're just arguing over nothing.
We really are.
Let's move on, and you fellas do what you have to do to get your
Thank you.
answers.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
I just.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, now
Thank
we'll
you.
move on to
See you later.
Drive safe.
Elizabeth Ritt's story about the delay.
But when I saw on TV that this was going to be about ethanol plant, I came down, I had a few remarks that I wanted to make, and they've left, so it might not help a whole lot to say anything, but I'm going to anyhow.
Go ahead.
I want to know who's going to pay for the roads when these big tractor trailers start breaking down the pavement. I lived in Berkeley Springs for a while, and we had the big semis coming through. They wanted to put a bypass around that town, so the semis would be going around it instead of in through it. The business people didn't want that to happen, because if they went around, other people would go around and their business would fall down, their business would drop off. And how is this plant going to attract tourists?
Well, let me answer your first question on the roads. They will have to bond the roads. They will be responsible. If they tear them up, they'll have to rebuild them at their expense. The roads will be bonded. They'll have to present a bond.
No more taxes, higher taxes?
No, anything that happens to those roads, they will pay for them.
Okay.
Correct? Go ahead to your next.
Okay, we talk about jobs, and we know this town needs some industry. The unskilled laborers is what we'll be looking at, dock workers, janitors, and the high-paying jobs will be done probably by plant personnel brought in by the company and not the residents. How many professional engineers do we have living here in Curwensville? And for the jobs, where will they spend the money in Curwensville? We used to have a jewelry store, a theater, a shoe repair shop, a 5 and 10 cent store, a stationery store, we had a teenage center, we had a bowling alley, we had shoe stores, and we had an A&P store. Where are they?
We had 43 businesses at one time, I agree with you.
None of them are there. Where are they going to go to spend their money? Clearfield and Du Bois.
When Wicked and Craig came here some years ago.
Who did?
Wicked and Craig. Wicked and Craig. One of our former borough officials took all these hierarchy people over to Treasure Lake to show them where to live, where we have beautiful spots in Curwensville and Pike Township that they could have been shown. And in talking with Mr. Ballswhite, I've already talked to him about housing for their employees. Of course, they're going to bring engineers in,
Yeah.
you know, from out of town. Our hope is that these people will join our community, either Curwensville, Pike Township, but in this area, come here, send their kids to our schools, and of course, they will be paying taxes also. So that's our hope there. And hopefully they will train individuals locally, you know, to run some of their, do some of their better jobs. But yes, I expect that they're going to bring in experts, because I don't know anybody around here, you know, that's capable of doing, I don't know that much about the process.
When
But
I grew up
hopefully
here,
those
it was a
people
fun
will
place to live. We had a lot of
Yeah.
things to do. And we had a skating rink. I mean, you know, on top of these other
Had
things.
2 bowling alleys at one time.
This is
I
right,
worked at
yeah,
one.
one down in the alley and one up
What is
on,
your name? What is your name?
Elizabeth Ritz.
What's your married name? You went to
Ritz.
Curwensville.
Pardon me?
You lived in Curwensville.
Yes, my
Oh,
name
okay.
was Swales.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. You look like Martha.
We,
That's okay.
No, Martha looks like me a little.
we had several industries, and it went the way of, and I attribute that to greed. Corporate America took all our jobs, and you know, the really sad thing about this, and one of the reasons I am for the ethanol plant, and I will say this, waste coal, that sounds like an ugly thing. My little brother works for an outfit that is in that industry, and I went to school with another guy. The clean technology that they're using nowadays, it doesn't even, if you're really concerned about waste coal or about pollution, turn all your lights off when you go home, because by turning your lights on, you're contributing to the Shawville Penelec plant, which is the dirtiest, second dirtiest. Now, waste coal, with the scrubbers they have on the stacks, and I work for an engineering firm in State College, and we are an environmentally friendly firm. We're the ones that make sure the landfills are lined if you have to put them in the state. The trouble is, if we don't have the industry, which we don't, and that's why we don't have a bowling alley, a skating rink, a jewelry
Right.
store, we have a Walmart.
Oh, no.
It's all served, exactly. Now, we let China do all this industry, guess what? They don't have any pollution regs. And the prevailing wind patterns just take all that good stuff over here, and we get to live with it,
China
but
is
we
now
can't regulate it.
outsourcing their jobs.
Pardon?
China is now outsourcing
Well,
those jobs. to
if I
other
might
countries.
interject, I've heard that argument over and over, but what I know in my meetings with economic development over and over, I don't hear any. Mark McCracken said to me one time, well, Sam, what other options do we have? Nobody's looking at computers, nobody's looking at IT, nobody's looking at clean-based, internet-based industry. They're not even trying.
I made a ton of phone calls in regard to IT, and you know what I got?
What?
You guys don't have anything that attracts us, and you never will. You're too far from the coast, you're not California.
Well, let's move on, let's, let Elizabeth.
This is your clean, that's your
Yeah, well, I was
clean pollution.
thinking about the pollution too that it will generate. And
This is the
to
clean
tell our
pollution,
kids
by
and
the way.
grandkids to, you know, you can't go outside and play at the schoolyard because there's too much pollution out there, you might get sick. I work at the school. I work in the cafeteria there with Martha. And, you know, it concerns me about being there. And then the tannery, I mean, I grew up here with the tannery and that smelled. And what about those arsenic pits where the bones and the flesh and stuff were dumped? Are they gonna clean that up and take it out of here too?
What is health?
Thousands of tons
Where's the
of dirt they were
parameters?
going to move.
All I see is what they're gonna be.
What is helpful?
Yeah.
You have to
I'd
ask whether
suggest that you get together with
37,000,
Mr. Carroll and Mr. Barnes and
Right.
pursue that route so you get the
I
answer.
think you're right, we're going on
Okay,
45
well, thank
minutes
you
now.
for allowing me to speak tonight.
Okay, I knew I recognized, that wasn't sure.
Thanks for coming. She,
Thank you so
very
much.
quickly though, she did bring up a good point in regards to tourism development. Regardless of whether you're in favor of the plant or not, the fact remains we have invested an enormous, not our community itself, but the county has invested an enormous amount of money promoting the crown jewel of county tourism, which is Curwensville Lake. We have to ask ourselves, a 300-foot smokestack is a big smokestack, sticking up right there where you're going to see, you're going to come right into town, you're going to see the smoke shop, you're going to see the smokestack. Hey, let's go to the dam and go swimming. We cannot, no thinking person can possibly say that it's not going to decrease the interest to come to this area. How could it not? How could it not?